Hey folks, welcome back. Our third episode of Three Corners of Horror. This is JR.
Lindsay.
Rick, make sure you like and follow us here on YouTube.
Now, last week we spoke about franchises. Now, this week we're going to focus, as we told you last week, on the Friday 13, the Jason Voorhees franchise. Now, what's your first take on basically the Friday 13 and the Jason Voorhees character?
I personally love him. I think it's interesting. I love all the characters where they don't talk. You just kind of like how a character doesn't talk. He never has one little thing of dialogue, and you root for him the entire time. Like he still has a story, and you still feel bad for him with certain things, and you root for him. Honestly, well, I do. I don't know if everyone else here does, but I do.
Yeah, he's a character that has evolved from the course of 12 films? No,
films.
He's been in a lot of stuff, but each iteration of the character has been kind of different in a sense, you know. And I think he's very charismatic. I think, and without doing anything, it's just you look at him, he's just so your eyes are glued to him.
Yeah. Now, the thing about him too is everybody is familiar with Jason because of the hockey mask. But if you go back to the first episode, which it's gonna be a lot of spoilers here, so if you haven't watched the films, I'll watch the films at this point. But
Go watch.
the first of the three series basically to evolve Jason, he wasn't actually the killer in the first one.
Nope.
I mean, what do you guys think about that?
I think it's cool because it had a twist ending without you even knowing it was going to have a twist ending.
Look what you did to him!
I feel like the first one actually covered a lot of bases because, like we discussed last week, it's like the first like hacker slasher movie, and it wasn't even him, but he gets like a lot of the credit for it later on in the franchise. So, I love that aspect about it.
Very cool, yeah. I think going back and looking, like reflecting on it, it was very much inspired from Halloween because I think Halloween wasn't the first slasher, but it was one that really brought it to the mainstream. And then they took a little bit of Halloween and some of Meatballs, which is more the comedic, more aimed towards the younger generation. And they took those two and just smashed them together, and you got Friday the 13th. And the fact that, you know, all these young punks are out there, you know, half of them, more than half, not likable. You want to see them all die.
Yep.
And here we are in the first movie, we don't even know who the killer is. And there's really not that much music in the movie unless the killer is on screen, which is usually through the POV. At the time, you were always like, oh, like, who's doing this? Like, it was a mystery, like you guys said before, right?
Yeah.
When you found out who it was, and then the big money shot at the end, it was like, bravo, man. Like, that's awesome.
Yep.
They did a very good job of actually fooling the audience. You know, because, like, the whole time you're led to believe it's this Jason character who's come back to exact revenge. And when you find a backstory at the end where you really get into the backstory, how basically his mother was the one that plotted all this to get payback. The funny thing is, payback to, I might be wrong but to kids that had nothing to do with
Yeah.
what happened to her son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was obvious, just a real mother scorned. Just taking it on anybody.
Yeah.
Interesting, too. The Betsy Palmer, the actress who played Miss Voorhees, hated the script when she first read it. She threw it. She didn't want to do it, but she needed a new car. So she said, you know what? It's going to come and go. Nobody will remember this film. It'll be forgotten. And then all these years later, that's the movie she's best known for.
Yeah. She did. I thought she did a very good role. You're always interested in these people, like you said, she hated the script.
Yeah.
But her character as Pam Voorhees is amazing because here is somebody who's always going to be remembered
That's, yep.
as basically the main killer of what set off the Jason franchise.
Yeah.
You know, now to go back to the ending, which the shocker at the end is where we get the first true glance of Jason, and how in the second one, the roles are reversed, where now it's Jason wanting revenge for what happened to his mother,
Yep.
killed by a camp counselor.
Yeah, very cool.
I mean, what you
Just
thought
a
about that
vicious
twist?
cycle. a vicious cycle.
And the change in visual, because in the first movie we never really got to see the killer only until the very end, obviously.
Right.
And this one we get to see Jason in all his glory, without the hockey mask. So he had the burlap sack, looking
Yep.
like very always compared to the killer from the town that dreaded sundown.
Yes.
You know. And I mean, if you look at the guys, the only difference is Jason had one eye hole, the other guy had two. So.
You know what's funny? Side note, but it actually reminds me, I don't know if anyone played Resident Evil 5, but there's a character but he just had the one eye. And every time I played that game, I thought of Friday the 13th Part 2.
Yeah,
every single time.
Definitely inspired a lot of creators
Yep.
to go out there and just, throw in little homages in everything they do.
Well, the thing too is just, I mean, the sack was so awesome because it's like you were saying, you get the one eye,
Yep.
and he's basically just like a hillbilly.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why he's got the sack too, because they thought logically is, all right, if he's gonna put something over his head, what is gonna be readily available to Jason?
Right.
He's in a farm, put a sack over your head, cut the one hole, and you're good to go.
Now, what do you think of how the second one ended, where it was almost a comeback to the first one, where you gets revealed that basically the mother's the killer, and in the second one, the last girl standing basically dresses up like the mom.
Yeah, I actually really loved that. I thought it was interesting how they did that because, because she was a psychology student, so it really made sense that she would think quickly on her feet like that to do something like that to survive the situation. I thought it was a cool twist that they added. There's the first three in general were really good at curveball, curveball.
I mean, in part two, you also had the one character, Ted, which a lot of people don't really realize this. He's the only guy that actually survived the movie. He wasn't a final girl. Sometimes they would add the final guy too with the girl, but this guy just went out to town to go party and drink, never came back.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So he miraculously survived the whole ordeal because he wasn't there. Talk about luck. And it's the roles reversed again. Normally, if you're the one that's partying, you're the one that's getting killed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the stereotype.
Forgotten character, man. And the actor, Stu Charno, I think his name is. It's like if you see him, you know him from the 80s.
Yeah.
In all those 80s movies, he always appeared as some kind of dork or whatever. And here, when he shows up, he survives.
Well, now let's go back. So you had the first one, basically the mother was a killer. Jason shows up at the end. Second one, Jason finally shows up. A lookalike of his mom shows up at the end. To go back to the second film. Now, the third film, which was basically known for the 3D, was one of the first slashes of about 3D into their movies. But it was where he donned the iconic hockey mask.
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of people don't realize that. It took 3 movies in order for him to get his iconic look.
Yeah.
I mean, usually it's like the first movie and that's it. But it's like, I kind of like the fact that they build it up to the third.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then basically elevated his character.
Mm-hmm.
Because just like, Halloween, the William Shatner mask, the hockey mask became a symbol for Jason. I mean, the minute the mask came up, you're like, oh,
Yep.
Jason movie,
Yep.
And the 3D elements, too, at the time. I remember, I didn't get to see it in the theaters, obviously, but I could only imagine. If you watch it now, it's kind of cheesy. That's what, when he shoots the harpoon gun, actually, and you see it coming towards the screen, you can only imagine, oh, man, as a kid,
That must
seeing
have been
that.
so cool.
That must have been awesome.
Yeah.
Right through the eye.
Yep.
Who are you? What are you doing? Hey, now cut that out right now. That's not funny.
I mean, what do you think of the hockey mask?
I think the hockey mask is a really cool touch, honestly, because it's something that without it being tied to Jason, it's an innocent thing.
Yeah.
It's just a hockey mask.
Mhm.
But now it's like you see a hockey mask like that and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
the first thing you think of is gonna kill somebody. That's what's gonna happen. That's what I think is cool because it's just an everyday item. Like Michael Myers' mask is freaky. There's nothing about that where I would
Just a
see it at
blank-
the store
just a
and be
blank
like,
stare.
oh, I'm gonna buy that and that's gonna be a daily thing. Like I mean, a hockey mask is so everyday.
I mean, too, is like before we jump onto the later films, the first three were well known for the kills.
Don't forget too, in part 2, Alice, who survived the first movie,
Yes.
they offed it pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
did, right in the first.
The actress didn't want anything to do with it anymore because she was getting a lot of stalkers. So she said, "All right, I'm done with acting. I don't want very little screen time. Just get me in, get me out." And her death was pretty it was shocking because you didn't expect that to happen to the main character from the first movie.
Right.
And you watch the second movie and she's gone. Pretty much. I think it was
The same way
was
as
like-
Kevin Bacon. too.
it was like 15-minute shot, and that was before the movie even started. So
Yeah.
For the first three, because the first three really introduced like a different variety of slasher killing. I mean, like, which of the killings did you really like the most?
Well, you mentioned Kevin Bacon, his scene. Oh man, poor Jack. The guy just sits back, just wants to have himself a little joint, just take in the night, and little blood in the head, and he's done. Just the way the arrow just pokes out of his
Yeah.
throat area, right here. Oh man, I remember too thinking, how the hell did they do that? And Tom Savini did the first movie, so it's not surprising the effects are top notch, even for way back then. That's the one that sticks with me early.
What about you?
Mine is going to be the wheelchair one.
It's
It's going to be. Just because, well, first of all, it is really cool. The idea is just like, oh, whack in the face, you're done. But for me, I mean, if you can tell by the movies, I really enjoy the comedic elements of these movies. I thoroughly enjoy. So when he gets hit in the face and then he goes down 900 flights of stairs backwards in his wheelchair, it shouldn't amuse me, but it's comical. It's comical,
I mean,
but it's a cool scene though too, because it's like I did not see that coming, because the way the camera angle was for that kill scene, you don't even see Jason coming, and it's like front of his face. We're behind him, and the machete hits him in the front, and we see
Very
it from
cool.
the back.
Well shot.
Yeah, it was really cool. I really like that one.
And also, you were thinking, you're not gonna kill the guy in the
No.
wheelchair. Come on, he's gonna make it.
Yeah.
No, yeah, to kill him and then to rub it in, throw him down the steps. And I'm sorry, but that was such a long scene.
That was
like,
a
how
long
many
scene.
steps were
Yeah.
there? Because he just kept going, and actually at one point it hit like a curb, and it
Yep.
kind of adjusted. All right, let me finish going down the rest of the steps. I forgot the name of the girl in the. I think it was in the second film too, where she took the axe to the face,
Yeah.
and it happened so quick. It was just one shot, just the axe embedded in her face, and I mean it was a quick kill. But for me, that was just awesome because that's the first time I actually seen, like, the guy in the wheelchair. Basically, we didn't see the shot coming, but this one you just saw it straight on, and I think that's what makes Jason, like, his movies just so crazy, because the kill scenes get better as it goes. Now, just like any franchise, once they get to a certain point, they continue to extend the series and bring in different aspects, different types of like plots and characters. Like after the third one, which the one like sticks with you the most?
I would say the two that really sticks to me the most. Well, it's gonna be 4, definitely, and the New Blood. Those are the two that really stand out. I mean, I love 4. It's got a soft spot in my heart. I don't know if it's just the whole concept of it, or it's that Crispin Glover's dance, man. Do you
I
remember
love
that?
Crispin Glover anyway.
And that's another thing with this series too. You'd be seeing random actors pop in and pop out. Like, what is he doing here? But hey man, everybody wants to be part of Friday the 13th, don't they? But yeah, I mean, 4, very underrated. I think I just love the concept of that. And of course 7. I mean, we'll get to it, but I mean, the New Blood's awesome.
No, Corey Feldman was in 4.
Yeah, they introduced the character of Tommy Jarvis. So finally, we have a a protagonist that we're rooting for. And he was young at the time, but I don't like kids in movies. I don't know what it is. I don't. But for some reason, I really gravitated towards. And also, I forget the one he was in, but Reggie the Ruthless. Remember him?
Yeah.
With the little fake rubber spider.
You scared of spiders?
Like, again, a kid, you want him to survive. You don't want him to die.
Yeah, it was the Corey Feldman one was pretty good, but once again, it did something that the first one and second one did. It went back
Yeah.
because he basically shaved his head
Mm-hmm.
to look like Jason, and it's like one of the few moments where you see a killer have like a empathy.
Mm.
Because he looked at him differently. He's like totally like he did with when the girl dressed like the mom. It's like you see a weakness of a killer.
It shows you there's something in there.
Yeah, which I thought is something that's not really talked about in the Jason films. What about you? Which one is the...
So I like okay, everyone makes fun of me. So mine is, I really like Freddy vs. Jason. A lot of people think it's corny. It's absolutely corny. It's actually terrible. But
And
I loved it.
I love it for it.
Yeah.
I do. I love it. Just the idea. Well, you know what it is for me? Like I've always said, I mean, I respect Nightmare on Elm Street, but I don't really like Freddy Krueger. He's one of the people you don't really root for, because if you go based off his backstory in the reboot or, in the Wes Craven one, I mean, he's a pedophile. I don't want to root for you. So, I don't necessarily watch all these things in order. And I had seen the reboot before I saw Freddy vs. Jason. And I don't know which one came first, but I watch it and I'm just sitting there going, okay, Jason, you got this. You're going to kill him. This is good. Like, it was just satisfying. Like, the whole ending of that when he's carrying Freddy's head, even though Freddy winks, like,
And
it's
Freddy
just
winks at the camera.
it's just
Yeah.
satisfying, though. I enjoyed that one. And then, I actually liked the Friday the 13th reboot, the 2009.
Oh yeah, excellent film.
The kill scenes in that were awesome when he kills her through the underneath the boardwalk thing.
Oh yeah.
Right when she's in the water, she's all hiding and just
Oh my god!
right through her head. I love that one. I do. What about you?
Well, for me, like the Corey Feldman one, I think I like the most because like, who doesn't like Corey Feldman?
It's true.
I mean, here he is an iconic child actor,
Mhm.
and he's in a horror movie. And
Was that his first, like, not his first film, but his first like on-screen role that really got him noticed?
I think it was.
Because that was before the Goonies, right? Yeah,
That was
obviously,
before
yeah,
Goonies, and it was before the Lost Boys.
The
which-
Lost Boys,
Yes,
yeah.
which she's well known for. But you kind of liked the character and the fact that it was crazy how he knew the lore of Jason
hmm
to basically do something, to weaken Jason, to distract Jason. But it's just like I got like when I'm watching 4, like I said before, it reminded me of the first two. With using his weakness, using himself as a weakness, which I thought it was different. I didn't see a movie like that before.
And you follow him through multiple movies too, and
Yeah.
different stages of his life
Yeah.
as well. So
Now, as far as like, now he's known for The Mask, but the movie's fun sometimes. It kind of like showed us his face,
Yeah.
and there's certain times where, like me, I really don't want to see a person's face when they have a mask. I like the mystery of it, but like, what do you guys think of when his face was revealed in a couple of them? We'll take 2 for example. We'll do the 4. Which is the zombie one, right? The zombie look was the number
no,
4?
Zombie Jason came after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't that like
That was the New Blood.
The New Blood?
Yeah, that's when the one of my favorite. I mean, I know you don't like the reveals. I feel you on that,
Yeah.
but this one here, when his mask was just torn apart by the telekinesis, and you see just the makeup
yes.
work that was done. Oh man, impressive, man! And for back then too, like he looked so cool. His clothes all tattered up. Lightning strikes him,
Yeah.
brings him back to life as a walking zombie, and it's like, oh man, see, once again, the character evolves in a way where, okay, before he was alive, well, I guess when he was alive, right?
It's
It's so
something.
confusing, honestly.
Well, now he's really dead.
Yeah,
But
now-
he's walking. He's a living corpse, running around, rotting, and worms hanging out. I mean, come on, man. I love that stuff.
It's like it was almost like a homage to Frankenstein.
Yeah, I can see
Yeah,
that.
lightning strike. He comes back
Mhm.
to life.
It's
And-
funny how the actor in there was Rorschach from Welcome Back, Kotter.
Yeah.
I mean, you're old like me, man. You get what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Now let's compare that face to the face of Jason Takes Manhattan.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. You got some really good, some not so good.
The way his mask came off, and I was like, why is he doing baby talk? Because it's not like he's doing baby talk when he sees the water coming.
Mm.
You know, it's just like, why? All right, then he's like puking out his mouth, like, oh.
Yeah, I don't like it. And I was telling Rick earlier, honestly, it kind of reminds me of Sam from Trick or Treat when the thing on his head is off, the burlap sack is off. He looks kind of like him.
Yeah, he does.
Which to me, for me, my opinion is a little much, just because if you go based off of what it was, he didn't look like that. I mean, he was deformed, but that is like something straight out of a monster book. In my opinion, I thought it was a little ridiculous.
It reminded me of Goonies. Hey, you guys. I'm like, why you ruin Jason like
The
this?
sloth?
Don't do
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Sloth.
sloth.
I
Yeah.
love that guy. You go
Yeah.
back, like, hey, you
Yeah.
guys. Like, oh, no. And that movie was like,
Well,
Jason Takes Manhattan was.
That's the time when they started getting goofy. Like I love. Jason Takes My Hand is so bad I could watch it. I mean, the scene when he throws hands with that guy, and he
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
knock my head off. And he like grabs it
Bonk.
and knocks his head right off. You know? But even then, like you're watching that movie, and here's Jason walking around Manhattan, and like
I give
yeah.
him credit though. They wanted to do something different. They took
Oh, it
him
was
out
real
of.
different.
They took him out of
It
the
was
camera.
different.
They threw him in Manhattan. You know, in Times Square. Everyone, even if you're not from New York, everyone can relate with Times Square. It feels more like okay, this guy's in my backyard right now. You know,
I mean, it was definitely like
could be worse. It could be Part 9, man.
Now talk about Part 9 because
I don't want to, man.
No, I think you should. I mean,
This is the one time I love the Friday the 13th franchise, even the bad ones, but this one here, Jason wasn't really in it, so to speak. It was more like his spirit was being transferred from killer to killer. And I think the only thing that stands out is the ending. When it set up the Freddy vs. Jason movie where, you know, Freddy's hand coming out and grabbing the
Yeah.
mask. I remember seeing that, and the whole theater at the time was like, holy shit. You know, it was like nobody was really expecting that. But then, of course, the movie didn't happen because of the rights, you know, happened way later on, obviously. But that's the only blemish, I think, in the Friday the 13th franchise for me personally. Because I could watch even like Manhattan. I could watch it. I could watch all the ones before. I adore those movies, man. I could just sit back and watch them anytime.
what about you?
I never watched the ninth one. I'll be honest with you. I mean,
You don't have to.
yeah.
If you have Shudder, all the Friday the 13th movies are on there right now for the most part. At least the first like 8. Give them a watch if you haven't. Grab a beer, do whatever. It's a good time.
Yeah, the 9 is basically the Halloween one where it was basically a copycat.
Yeah,
Like,
Jason Goes to
I
Hell.
mean, you're like, why
Why
mess with
they
him?
tried doing something
Yeah.
different, but it just didn't work in that film.
It's
Yeah.
just- One of Rick's favorite. He's mentioned last week, Jason X, but I thought it was kind of comical. Here is like Robo Jason, and he stumbles upon these two girls who decide, oh, we're gonna seduce you. So they basically strip, get into like sleeping bags, and they're literally telling her, "Come on." It was funny because even at the point in the film, Jason looks at them like, "What the?"
Yeah.
But to turn things more comical, which is he grabs the bag with the one girl in, he just starts swinging, like using her to kill the other girl. And then he just,
it's a classic kill.
And it kept going for a while. And the funny thing is, like, you hear one of them go, ugh. While the other one's not reacting. And I'm saying, all right, which one's dead?
For me, I hope it's the right name. The Shelley. He was the prankster.
Shelly, yeah.
Because of the fact that he cried wolf through that entire movie, and then he just sat there and bled out in front of his friend because she didn't believe him.
She thought he was punking her again.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed.
I didn't like that guy at all. Anyway.
No, me neither. Man. I mean, I was rooting for his death, but it was comical to me just because of the fact that literally the entire movie. He's first of all. He introduces Jason's future look because he has the mask on in the movie.
That's true. He's the one. It all starts.
It kind of like he's foreshadowing what's to come, and then he gets his karma, and it's a beautiful thing to watch.
That'll teach you a valuable lesson.
And I mean, last week you spoke about the cryogenic kill.
Yeah.
And how that was a classic. And
yeah.
I mean, did you see that coming? That they was going to do that?
No, not at all. I mean, it's cool, the setup, because here goes the little scientist lady doing her thing, and he just slowly sits up like the Undertaker.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, she's done. What is it going to do? You know it's coming, but I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. That was actually, after you mentioned it last week, I watched it like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, it was really cool.
And the comical thing about it is that he does it, and he actually lifts her up and looks at her.
I know.
Oh, let me smash her head against the
bonk.
But I mean, that's I think what separates the big two, Jason and Michael Myers. I mean, Michael Myers has, for me, I think he has simple kills. Where Jason, it's almost like, how can I top my last kill?
Right.
And I mean, it's just, I think that's what separates them from everybody. As well as, like, you mentioned the remake.
Yeah.
Now, you know how sometimes, like, certain films, when they try to reboot it, you're like, don't do it. I mean, but what do you think about the remake compared to, like, let's say the first two?
Well, what I like about the remake, very similar to Rob Zombie's remake of Halloween, at least they tried to give you a little bit of a backstory. They go into more detail to make it different. So it's not just... For me, that's why I don't really call it a remake as much as a reboot, because it is a little different. It's different compared to the original. The cast they chose, in my opinion, too, was a very seasoned cast. It was good. I think what's her name, Kay Panabaker, or Danielle Panabaker, Danielle Panabaker. I've seen her in so many things. And I was actually surprised to see her in a movie like that, just because I've seen her mainly in like Lifetime movies and Disney movies. So it was
during that
cool.
time she was popping up in a lot of different things,
she was. Yeah. But I think that's the main thing I liked about it, was the fact that they did it a little bit differently. So you don't even have to put it with the franchise. Right. You didn't have to say, oh, well, they ruined the original, because it wasn't really meant to be just like the original. Because I mean, even the setting was a little different.
The movie did so much to stand apart from its predecessors. It was almost 2 movies in one. Like the first group of kids, well, they're teens, but that first group and then the main group after them. And I remember too, which is cool about this movie. People always complain about, how does Jason get from here to here? He doesn't run, this and that. Well, this one, it shows you, like, he lives like in this underground tunnel. So he's got passageways leading to everywhere. So no matter where you're at, he could just get you. But I think going back and thinking about it now, man, when I first saw it, during the very first, 20 minutes of the film, just the moment when he's about to kill the kid and he starts running and he's about to swipe. And I'm like, oh no, he's running. What are you doing? No, Jason doesn't run. But as the movie goes along, I'm like, oh man, like this is cool seeing Jason in a different light.
Yeah.
And imagine that guy running towards you. That's scary.
That is
Yep.
scary. Michael Myers faces Jason, which I thought they were going to build up towards.
Yeah.
But then you went the long shot and they're like, all right, let's bring in Freddy, who could basically take any movie and make it comical.
Well, that's
Right.
that's why they do it, because
Yeah.
if you put Michael versus Jason,
It's like a silent film.
yeah.
Yeah, but as we know, silent films are wonderful.
Oh, they are. So basically, that's it for this week. Thank you guys for joining us. Next week, we will do our first movie review. We're gonna look at Incident in a Ghostland, which I highly recommend. So does Lindsay.
Yes, I do.
We're gonna watch it,
I haven't seen it yet, but I will.
and you watch it and let us know. And please also, if there's any movie that you want us to review or show, please leave a comment below, and we'll get right on it. We're looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Once again, it's GR.
Lindsay.
Rick.
See you guys next week.